on the Instagram. Streaming. Go live. All right, in live video. Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? Courtney, I saw you jump in. What's up, Courtney? Did you like my long, rambling text message I sent to you yesterday or 2 days ago? You didn't respond. Was it too confusing? What's up, everybody? What's up, Doc Reed? Yo, I haven't seen you in so long, man. What is happening? What's up, Nicole? How you feel? How you feel? How you feel? What's up, Greco Mom? Everybody is in here. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, Instagram? It's good to see you guys. We're back for the MuseRoom today at 1 o'clock, as always, where we have so much fun, so much to unpack. What's up, Cool Blue Lee? What up, my guy? What's up, E. James? The man has arrived. I'm here, my guy. What's happening, friend? Good to see you. Childish Sambino. I like to play on the words. What's up? Good to see you too, my guy. Happy to be here. Happy that you're here. Happy to be with everyone today. What's up, Darquanil 726? What's up, Darquanil? Where's your picture out for your profile so we can see where you at? What's going on with you? Who is it? Can you come back? Come back. I'm on a call. Sorry, I was getting a knock at the door. Listen, we're live. All good. Vicky Boo. I've been looking forward to this MuseRoom. I've been looking forward to talking to you too as well, folks. Wade Chisholm, what's happening? What it do? What it do? What it do? What's up, my guy? We out here. So much to unpack, man. I'm so excited. I could not wait to jump on with you guys today. What up, Noob? Couldn't wait to be on with you guys. You won't believe it. I actually listened to most of the oral arguments. The Supreme Court. No way. Yo, a dream. Yo, I've been dying to get you guys to listen to Supreme Court oral arguments. What's up, D'Angelo? That's a long name there. Hey, Mike, good to hear you this morning. On Sway in the Morning. I was glad to be. We had such a good time on Sway in the Morning. So thank you for coming back over. We're going to go a little bit more further in depth. Tita, man, what's going on? What's up? R9 Truck, what's going on? I'm switching over to Instagram real quick, see what y'all up to, see what y'all doing, see what y'all talking about. Yo, Damian Phillips, what's up? Hey, Mike, good morning from Los Angeles. Thank you for being up early with us this morning. I don't know how long you stayed in line last night. How long was your wait time standing in line last night? I'm assuming you voted because you're here in the MuseRoom. We all are politically engaged here. How long was your wait time? Chowder Sambino says you should have let him in for an impromptu interview. Who? Let who in for an impromptu interview? Did I miss it? My bad. Let who in? I don't know who he's talking about. Cat doesn't know neither. Holla back at us, Chowders. Who should we let in? Yo, Cool Blue, I'm so happy you listen to oral arguments. They're fascinating, right? I keep telling people you should really watch the Supreme Court oral arguments. Not watch because you can't watch. You can listen. They're so fascinating to really. Noreen Scott, what's up? It allows you to really see our democracy like in action, right? When one of the most important branches that we have of our government. Khalil Trisvan, Mike, I got a picture and changed my name. I never noticed the numbers behind it. Good to see you. You have a great face. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Damian Phillips. I know. Oh, you voted early. Good. I don't think people realize like when you something make up these names and you have YouTube make them for you, like they put a series of numbers behind it. So it's just a really weird thing, man. Voted early. Where are y'all in from? I need to know states now. Fax the guy at the guy at the door. I know. I should have next time I get a knock at the door, I'm gonna let them in. Where are we calling in from? Are we calling what states? Give me states. I want to know what states are we rocking with here. What states are in the building? Yeah, M.A. Gray. Wait, is that twin? M.A. Gray? Is that twin? I think so. A James 3775. New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Indiana. All right, so we got New Mexico. Oh, New Jersey. You know I'm talking about New Jersey. Not Florida, unfortunately, Khalil.
The weather's good.
The weather's great, right? All right, so we got New Jersey, we got Florida, Virginia. Noreen, I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you out. So pay attention because I got some questions for you, Noreen, about Virginia. Cool, yeah, it's amazing how they stretch those legal terms and make the point. Yeah, that is so. Twin, my twin has entered the chat. No way. Welcome, twin. I think it's your first time, man. Welcome. So glad to have you here, my guy. Yo, I literally have a twin, like identical. When you see us, you guys are gonna laugh when you see what I'm talking about twin. Maureen, I'm mid-flight on my way to LA. Yo, the MuseRoom is in the air right now. Cat, we made it. We got 30,000 feet up high in the sky. Jorge, Fort Lauderdale, check it in. A lot of Florida folks here. Colorado's into the chat. Colorado, we got a lot to talk about. Melina, hey Mike, I'm in North Carolina by way Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Cats in Minnesota on Facebook too.
Yeah, Minneapolis in the building, Minnesota's in the building. Shout out to Minnesota. Texas in the building. Okay, we got a lot to talk about. Texas, North Carolina's in the building. Do I see a Mississippi? M-I hunchback, I hunchback, yeah, something. Southern Cal, Inland Empire to be exact. Okay, Inland Empire. For those of you who are new to us, what we do at the beginning of the conversation with the MuseRoom, we just call people out, we engage, we find out what cities they're from, what's on people's minds. Before I get into the conversation around the flow, I like to know my audience, see what you guys are up to, where you're from, what you're into, what you got going on. And this is one of my favorite parts of the show, actually, is the beginning of the roll call. I think it's fun. And I just love the engagement. I just love y'all for showing up and tuning in. We're growing. Clearly, we're in the air. So we can be on the air. I'm super excited. And Cool Blue, you made my day. I've been trying to get people to listen to Supreme Court oral arguments. And I mean, I could turn the MuseRoom off right now. Like, we don't need to go any further, but we are going to keep going further because so much is at stake what's happening right now with our democracy. So I'm clearly going to talk about the elections. I'm going to talk about Supreme Court. If there's time, twin, we're going to talk about some football. We're going to talk about the Jets. There's a lot of devastation right now. Maybe happiness. I don't know. Let me know. But we're going to talk about that too as well. And I'm so mad at the coach from the Commanders for keeping my boy Jaden Daniels in for so long, and he's injured his arm. But that's if we get time, because there is a lot to unpack, and people are watching the Supreme Court. So I want to make sure. All right, folks, are y'all ready to get into it? Let me know what you want me to talk about specifically. If not, I am going to get into the conversation and unpack what we saw yesterday and what my takeaways are and what my analysis are. And where I think I am headed. If you guys see me right now, I'm turning off my phone because I love is that people still hit me up like, Mike, I'm on with you, while they're texting me. So I'm trying to go to airplane mode now. So if you guys are texting me, I'm in airplane mode. It's just holler at me in the chat. It's all the same. It's all the same love. All right, I'm going to start the MuseRoom off with, as someone once said, with 4 words. Turn the volume up. And this is what we need to today, is turn the volume up, because history was made yesterday when New York City elected its first Muslim mayor with Zohran Mamdani. He came in with 50% of the vote. Coming in second was former Governor Andrew Cuomo, and coming in third was Republican Curtis Sliwa. What I found very interesting about this was that if you look at the numbers, if you add up the amount of votes between that Curtis Sliwa was that received yesterday combined with Andrew Cuomo, Cuomo still would have came up short in terms of overtaking Mamdani. Now, the question is, if it would have been a close two-way competitive race, would that have shifted any momentum or dynamics coming to the close of the race? But with that being said, we have to take the math. 1 + 1 is always 2. What happened yesterday? And if you add the Curtis Sliwa vote in there, Cuomo still would have been short. So did Sliwa actually spoil the chances of Cuomo, or will the outcome would have been exactly the same? What I find interesting is that in Staten Island, Sliwa actually lost. Staten Island, for those of you who are not familiar with New York City demographics and politics, Staten Island is a traditional conservative borough of the 5 boroughs. And so for the fact that Cuomo placed first as a Democrat, former Democrat, now independent, Mamdani came in second and Sliwa came in third, I think that says a lot too as well in terms of how people were really viewing this and how they really viewed Sliwa. Sliwa was a Republican nominee for the ticket, but he was really essentially like the third party candidate in a really interesting way. I think there's a really interesting litmus test that we saw with Mamdani's win. Mamdani really leaned into affordability. And I think that if these are good takeaways for the Democrats to take note going forward for the midterms and for the next presidential cycle. Also, too, for the Republicans to take note of, to do their own analysis. What I'm seeing right now from a lot of Republicans online is the continual attacks on Mamdani from a negative and Islamic phobic attack. I think they really need to begin to pivot, because the takeaway yesterday was that no matter what state you were in, whether you're in New Jersey, whether you were in Virginia, whether you were voting in New York City, on the agenda was not cultural issues, right? No matter what the issues were remained, it was all about the economics, and it was all about affordability, and it was all in a place that we're in right now. Obviously, the cultural issues are a subset and playing underneath the momentum, but even Mamdani here in New York City focused on rent stabilized rent, affordable housing, free buses, looking at free grocery stores, really taking an economic approach to that. And if you think about the coalition that he built with younger voters, voters who are renters, right? People who are looking for that moment to kind of climb into just able to live comfortably and have a basic minimum standard of living here in New York City. That message resonated with New Yorkers and the Democrats here, and it was less about the cultural issues that are having impact of it. And so when you look at what happened in Virginia, and you also too, if you look at what happened in New Jersey, they literally hinted and leaned into the economics. So for me to see this morning and today, the Republicans continually the attack on cultural and doing cultural warfares just lets me know that they've yet to learn the lessons of last night. And if they do not learn the lessons of last night, they are going to have a rude awakening in the midterms. And for me, the biggest indicator was Georgia, right? Georgia is a red state. I know a lot of people want to think that it's a purple state. In some parts, maybe, but no, Georgia is still a very much a red state. And the fact that we saw Georgians go to the poll with the only ballot initiatives of being a utility board, and for the Democrats to flip 2 of those seats of the 5, allow those to turn Democratic, that lets you know the tide is changing and it is shifting, and people are looking for ways to put their frustration, and people are looking for ways to do the resistance to what they're seeing right now within the Republican Party, and the Republicans are going to have to take note. The reason why they're going to take note is that they got that kind of turnout. They were able to flip the 2 seats yesterday for a utility board. I'm not minimizing utility, because think about it though, utilities is economics. What was on the ballot for a lot of Georgians that came to the polls yesterday was electricity bills are too high. Energy is too high. What they were also too looking at is how Governor Kemp really repositioned and got away from clean and renewable energy and relied on coal and gas without adding in the new components of clean energy. As a result, is making the Georgians' utility bills go up. What is that? That's economics. That is no cultural issues. There is no other dynamics that maybe people were drawn to, but at the end of the day, it was economics that drew it. George, I keep leaning in on you a little bit because I think this is being underreported. There is a big election coming up in 2026. In 2028. And what that symbols is not just the presidential election, but in Georgia, the governor's race will be up for election. Also, too, Senator Ossoff will be up for re-election. And not only that, but the 3 other seats of the 5-member board of the commission will also be up for election. And so if Republicans in Georgia do not see the momentum that is happening in the resistance, they are going to be in for a rude awakening that is to come forward. Republicans also too have to recognize that at the end of the day, President Trump won't be on the ballot in 2028. So if he's not going to be on the ballot in
Oh no, he won't.
No, yeah. Well, I'm sticking with the idea that he's not going to be on the ballot in 2028. I know there's lots of conversations of like, will he run for a third term? I don't know, but I'm going to stick with the linear conversation that he will not be on the ballot in 2028. And so, what will the Republicans do for the next 3 years in terms of how would they change their tact on how they're thinking about executive power? How would they change their tack on giving up congressional oversight, in particular monetary policies and budgetary and power of the purse over to the president, which is what the Supreme Court case is about, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later on, and how that impacts tariffs, which is also to the point of the case today, and how tariffs have impact on everyone's economics. Cost of goods go up. Companies can't plan and schedule in hiring employees, in particular seasonal workers that are coming up. They can't set the prices with stability. And so that all impacts the bottom line of the American public. The Republicans do not make that shift and turnaround. Again, that is going to be the rude awakening. That was a takeaway for me that I watched last night. And I don't think the Republicans are getting the message today. Even if you look at what is happening too within Virginia, the state of Virginia, wow. Noreen, that's why I want you to get active in this chat, my friend. I want to know what encouraged you and what was on your mind when you went to vote. Because when I tell you, not only did the Democrats win at the governor's race with Abigail winning her election, but you also too saw the lieutenant governor. And for the first time, you saw a Muslim woman win statewide in a, excuse me, let me get the exact history correct. For the first time, a Muslim lady won a statewide election in the United States. I want to repeat. For the first time, a Muslim lady won a statewide election in the United States. And her name is Grazilla Hashmi. Congratulations to her for being able to win that victory. But then if you go down and if you look at the state legislature, Virginia has a trifecta now, right? They have the governor's mansion. They have the state senate, which did not vote yesterday. But they also too had the House of Delegates. The House of Delegates, at the last count that I had, the Democrats were at 63 votes to 31 Republicans. The Democrats pretty much swept the state of Virginia yesterday. Virginia is always one of those purple states too as well that can go either way. And I haven't even got to the Attorney General's race. I'm going to pause there just for a second before I get to the Attorney General's race. But if you look at what happened with the state of Virginia and in the Democrats, you have, I thought I turned my thing on Wi-Fi. Folks, I love that people are calling me. I'm obsessed. We're having some fun, right? All kind of interaction. When you're live, baby, you got door knocking, you got phone calling happening. I could have sworn I put myself on airplane mode. But look at Virginia. Virginia has a bunch of different, the suburbs of DC, but you also have the rural parts of Virginia. And so you have this mix of individuals, but what you have at its core, you have the federal employees who have possibly been impacted by DOGE. You also too have the federal employees that have been laid off right now due to the federal government shutdown that is at play. You have the instability, you're looking at it again within the terrorists, right? And you're looking at the instability of leadership. Virginians sent a strong message yesterday that they are looking for something different and they are not pleased with the direction that this country is going. And in particular, at the top of that is in response to the sporadic economic policy decisions through tariffs that President Trump is making right now. I really want to look at the Attorney General's race right now with Jay Jones. I'm going to lean into this a little bit because I think it's a new day for the Democrats. I really do. I'm going to pause. I'm going to slow it down a little bit right now. You can tell I'm excited. I'm talking a mile a minute. I haven't even had the rest of my ice espresso right now. But I want to pause for a second because I think it's a new day for the Democrats. And I think it's in response to how do Democrats reposition themselves in order to get back into the national discourse and conversation. And then I'm going to bring in Gavin Newsom into this point right here. Jay Jones won the Attorney General seat as a Democrat. He won 53% of the vote to 46% of the vote. Some of you may or may not know, but a couple of weeks ago, Jay Jones was mirrored in scandal when a series of text messages got released. And in the text messages, there were text exchanges about him stating to his Republican colleagues that he, wished that their children would be murdered. And as a result, they will be able to feel the pain of loss. And then maybe that will shape their mindset on gun legislation and gun reform. Folks, let me tell you, in any other scenario, in any other time period in American politics, the Democratic Party would have moved hell and high water to remove him as a candidate. Do you hear me? Would have moved hell and high water to remove him as a candidate. But what they did was I'm not gonna say allowed. He's a grown man, right? But he stayed on the ticket. Abigail Spanberger did not disavow, did not move away from him whatsoever. Matter of fact, in the closing round, stood on stage with him and President Obama. That let me know that the Democrats are loosening this idea. The biggest critique of the Democratic Party has always been this high and mighty, right? The Democrats like to take the high road, right? They like to be the moral fabric of democracy. The Democrats like for their candidates to be a particular type, right? A particular ilk, particular lineage, right? Say all the right things, right? Really be like these polished candidates that almost do no wrong, right? And when you look at where we are right now in this era where things are done based upon memes, when you see such negative conversations and negative attacks coming from the center of power within the White House and the halls of Congress and in the House of Representatives, right, in the Senate, you see such negativity. It was interesting to see that the Democrats didn't change tack with Jay Jones to have him replaced. And not only did they not change tack, he won, right? And Democrats actually voted for him, right? That's a signal. I think that's a signal to say, what type of candidates will we see come forward now in the midterm election? What type of candidates from the Democrats will we see in the 2028 campaign too as well? I'm not going to say the quality of candidates. I don't want to diminish it and make it personal. But I will say the quality of candidates, is it changing for Democrats, right? I'll be curious in the chat. Are you guys okay with that? Are you guys, if you do vote Democrat, are you comfortable with the Democrats loosening up and allowing a candidate like Jay Jones to still stay on the ticket, to still be around high energy closing rallies, GOTV efforts, right? I found that to be really interesting. The fact that he was able to not only remain on the ticket, but to actually win. I think a change is coming. And even if you look at the way that Governor Gavin Newsom has been engaging in resistance with President Trump, in the sense of on memes, really putting social media, AI generated videos and content, responding to exactly how President Trump communicates. He found a way to communicate with President Trump the way that President Trump communicates with the world. Right. And I think that is what's giving Gavin Newsom such energy. And I do believe that's the reason why a lot of Democrats are being drawn to Governor Newsom for this exact reason. I don't know if that will hold, for the next 3 years. I don't know if that's what Democrats will be looking for when they come from a presidential candidate, because let's face it, Gavin Newsom is absolutely going to enter the race. But then how does that change the calculus of when you see a possible candidates like Wes Moore? What's going to happen with Governor Pritzker, right? What type of candidate will they be, right? I mean, now that you're seeing a wide variety of different types of candidates now last night from the Democratic Party, from a Jay Jones, one, a Mamdani, who proudly admits that he's a socialist. He came out yesterday in his acceptance speech and said the same thing. Look at the moderates like Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill. Just those examples alone, Sherrill, Spanberger, Mamdani, Jones, Newsom, those are 5 different types of Democrats. And those are 5 different types of Democrats that won. What that is signaling to me is that the Democrats, I don't know if they want the kumbaya, right? Like, I don't know. Let me know, Democrats, what you guys are looking for and what you guys are looking at. And I don't know if the Republican Party will have the playbook to go against that type of variety of Democrats. Before, the Democrats used to be a little bit more monolithic in their approach. As of last night, just with those 5 people I noted, and the reason I put Gavin Newsom, he wasn't on the ballot per se, but Prop 50 was. And he was the one who was out front really pushing it and challenged Texas and said, if you do this, Texas, if you do your redistricting, I'm going to do this in California. And he did it. right? Like without hesitation, right? There was no focus groups. There was no like, let me poll test this, right, Kat? There was no polling. He just went for it, right? And he kept emphasizing in his acceptance speech. My man did an acceptance speech
For Prop 50.
for a for Prop 50. If he ain't running, I don't know what running looks like for a president.
He said he wanted president.
That's what he says. But we all know, which now forced Westmore to come out and say, well, we're not considered this in Maryland, and now Prisker, you're on the clock. You know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna do now, right? Because like Gavin's out there, like Gavin is out there, like being unabashed and being more loose. Mamdani is out there. When he looked direct to camera and said, "Turn up the volume," he was talking to President Trump and said, "I'm ready to take you on directly, right? I am ready to get into this fight, right? Like I am ready to speak your language, right?" And it's like, is that what it is going to take for the next round of candidates going to happen? Prop 50, go over to you really. No, New Jersey. Before I go to Prop 50, New Jersey. That was a landslide.
Right. And they said you're going to win by 2 points.
Right. Cat was the same thing. Only said they're going to win by 2 points.
The polls were so wrong.
The polls were wrong. The polls were wrong. The polls did not have it all. If you listen to me on the Mike News Show on Sway the Morning, you know I don't believe in polls. I say this all the time. Like, I don't subscribe to polls because why? The polls are not reaching y'all. The polls are not hitting and polling individuals in the newsroom right now. The polls get it wrong all the time. I'm like, stop giving into polls. I'm in news. I feel like sometimes we just use the polls of things that we need to talk about, right? To sound so astute, right? But I don't necessarily. Look, I'm not gonna let me be chill. I'm not gonna be completely dismissive of polls, right? Polls are important. Polls are needed, but time and time again, we've always seen that polls are wrong, right? And polls get it wrong. Mikey Sherrill won by a landslide, folks, right? Like flipping and turning counties, in particular, New Jersey. I want to go very insular, like how I went insular with Staten Island in New Jersey. I want to look at you, Passaic County. Passaic County is a traditional county in New Jersey, which has the highest share of Latinos in the state. It flipped for President Trump in 2024, but it went for Mikey Sherrill yesterday by 15 points. I can't emphasize enough how big of a deal that is. The reason why that was a big deal, which is why I can't believe the Republicans are responding the way that they are today, going cultural and cultural warfare and really making Mamdani the face. I'm like, Mamdani wasn't the only one that happened yesterday. Cheryl, Mikey Cheryl. I just love her name. I like Cheryl and I love Mikey. But Cheryl won against Spanberger won, right? And then you had you just had utilities, like utilities won, right? Like it was more than just Mamdani. I can't believe they're making it so cultural because they were going to rest and they were going to have a competitive event, and they were. They have a competitive advantage going forward with the Hispanic vote. The Hispanic vote is a very strong swing vote, right? If the Hispanics are not holding on to them, what it showed yesterday, they are not holding on to them yesterday. What does that say for their strategy in the midterm? Like, what is your coalition? Because look, these elections are close, people. Like it's all relatively a 50-50. The independents are going to be the deciding factors, right? You have some marginal shifts from here and there. But what showed up yesterday was the Hispanic vote. And the Hispanic vote is no longer with the Republican Party as of last night, right? And so by the fact that they're still making a cultural, and the fact that you don't see more Republicans, this is what I've been shocked by, how there has not been more Republicans in federal government coming out against these ICE raids in the way that ICE is handling. These visuals are powerful. There is no powerful medium than media, right? There is no powerful medium than videos, right? There's no more powerful way. We can talk about humanity, human rights on air all day, but when you roll the tape and you see the aggressive nature and you see men and women hiding behind ski masks, arresting individuals harshly, violently, aggressively in front of children and causing trauma to these children, that causes an effect. It's called cause and effect, right? And so for the Republicans not to recognize and not to start to say something and to give ICE almost carte blanche to do that, let's say you don't care, right? Let's say you don't care about the dynamics of that. I would think you want to care about retaining the House. I would think you would care about wanting to maintain your Senate majority. I would think you would care about wanting to maintain Republican office, Oval Office. Like at some point, if you don't care about the people, okay. But don't you? I always thought you cared about power and being in position, right? If you're noticing that Hispanics are moving away from you, that's going to weaken your coalition. That's going to weaken your base. And then who are you going to count on? Just men? Men was interesting yesterday too, as well. I'm not going to say men in droves went Democratic throughout all the contests yesterday, but there's a loosening of the male vote. I'll say it like that. There's a loosening of the male vote. I don't know, maybe they will be around, but you're starting to see a lot of those podcasters that were very active on President Trump getting him elected are changing their tune, having a different approach. You're hearing them say, this is not what I voted for, to have individuals arrested and manhandled in front of their children, right? So like, what does that do when these podcasters that are male driven start to have a course correction on what they thought they were voting for and what they're getting? Republicans, that's going to be a responsibility that's going to fall on you, right? And then if you look at another thing in New Jersey, Atlantic County is a suburb right outside of Atlantic City that's also too working class, which Mamdani was speaking to yesterday. That flipped to Republicans in 2021 in the governor race, and also too in 2024 the presidential race. They went for Trump. They went Mikey Sherrill by 3 points, right? So again, in these counties that are ripe for a Republican-based demographic, flipped and went Democratic yesterday. This is why I woke up this morning like, I can't believe the tea leaves I'm reading from the Republican Party when they were out there looking at that. Prop 50, here we go. Wow. The vote was 63%. I'm maybe counting. These are the numbers I have. I have, to be fair, as of this morning, because I don't know what it changed out. But it's 63 still? Okay, so it's 63.8. Yeah. So 63.8% was yes to prop, and then you had 36% that was no, right? That's a lot for a prop. That was almost almost 7 million people came out to vote just for a proposition. People don't even pay attention to props normally, right? But like almost 7 million for a proposition vote, right? In response to the intentional gerrymandering that was ordered by the president in Texas, in response to that, whoa, that is such a game-changing dynamic and scenario for me that should let everybody know that the frustration is real. People are very engaged and they want to channel their energy somewhere, right? And so I'm going to pause right there just for a second. I want to make this a little bit of a two-way dialogue. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thinking. Georgia, Noreen, if you could maybe repost something, you might have got lost somewhere down the sauce. We have a question from Instagram. It's a Greco mom, says, thoughts on the swing and voting for the 18 and 29 males demographic. I think that I think you're Greco. You're asking my response to the loosening of the male vote, and I think you're asking me why do I think that there is a swing in the male vote. I don't think that any demographic in 2000, I'm going on record, any demographic in 2025 are not sticky, right? I think now issues of the world are too important. I did a conversation on this. Matter of fact, it's Greco Mom. One of my first conversations we did in the MuseRoom was when I talked about the fluidity of political ideology. Yo, this is crazy. Go back and rewatch that, everybody. I'm going to repost that. I talked about, in particular for men, I talked about now it's more cultural. It's more cultural in terms of how men are voting. But also, too, I talked about the political fluidity of people. You could have a person who is pro same-sex marriage, but anti-immigration. That typically wouldn't have locked up. If you were pro same-sex marriage, more than likely you were pro immigration, right? And therefore, you probably were voting progressive, liberal, democratic. But now, if you have individuals that are pro same-sex marriage, anti-immigration, what category does that fit in, right? That's why I'm saying like this independent thing is actually becoming, it's not like I'm not Republican, I'm not Democrat, I'm independent. No, it's I'm a myriad of different things, right? You could also too be pro cryptocurrency, pro immigration, but anti same sex, right? So what categories does that fit in, right? And I did cryptocurrency in particular, talking about the men, right? There's so many issues that men are interested in when you think about like finance, when you think about like the economy, when you think about technology, right? But then where do these other factors go to as well? And so I think that that is why the male vote isn't as sticky just for Republicans, where the male vote is actually fluid from a political ideology perspective. But also too think there's so many other demographics too as well that are also too fluid that actually care about a mixture of things. And so it's a matter of what is speaking to you. Kat, I think Mamdani is a perfect example of representation of that, right? Like a lot of people don't think, it was interesting, a lot of people don't think he can get anything done, but they like him for trying. Or they will say, I don't like most of his issues, but anti-corruption. I don't like what he's doing. I don't like anything he stands for. But I like the idea that he's looking at affordable housing because that's a thing, right? So, I mean, there's just different things that people are voting for and the reasons why. And I think that is why people are just no longer sticky like anymore when it comes to that. Maureen says, do you think we will see a mass exodus of people leaving New York City like they were saying? No, that's cap. I'm on record right now. No, that is cap. The reason why is I think that if you live in New York, you live in New York for a reason, right? If you leave the city, you typically leave the city when you have a family. You want to go to Connecticut. Shout out to the twin. You want to go to Connecticut. You want to go to upstate, Long Island, New Jersey. You want to go other places when it comes to that. I don't think people are going to move out just in response to Mamdani's election. Because here's the other thing too as well. If you are a New Yorker, and this is a true New Yorker, I'm gonna go a little further. All right, Maureen, you've opened up a little Pandora's box here. I'm going on record that saying I don't know if New York will be forever true blue and will be forever this liberal bastion. And I'm really particular about the island of Manhattan itself. I think you're starting to see a lot of changing demographics that you're starting to see in New York City. You're starting to see a lot of kids who are born and raised here in the tri-state. They're starting to go down south for school. They go down south for college. They come back up. It's a new environment in the South. They meet friends who are from the South and born and raised in the South. The friends from the South now meet their friends from New York, and now it's cool and open to living in New York. You're starting to see a demographic shift in New York City. And I say this from personal knowledge and experience. I'm meeting a lot more people that are a lot more conservative, openly Republican, in particular in the island of Manhattan. So I don't know. Eventually, I'm not saying now, but I do think eventually we're going to see some tides change. Now, with that being said, if you're a traditional New Yorker, you're more than likely a more progressive and liberal. Where are you going to move to when it comes to the tax havens, right? Or it's for tax purposes and security. Florida, but that's a different type of political dynamic that is happening and occurring in Florida right now, right? Are you going to move to Florida now? Maybe. I don't know. Texas, you can go to Austin, right? But that's a different type of climate that is happening, and you're giving up a lot of different lifestyle that you are accustomed to here in New York City. Now you can go to Connecticut, maybe you can go to New Jersey. But New Jersey, they were fighting affordability too, right? Like that was on the ballot. So all that to say, I do not think there's going to be a mass exodus with that. I'm calling cap. I could be wrong. Prove me wrong, but I'm calling cap on that one. Wade Chisholm says, pay attention to the issues and the solutions is a difference. We deserve leadership and not entertainment. Wade, you must listen to me. I say that all the time about we need information and not to be entertained, but we need to be informed. I appreciate you for that one, my guy. All right. Is there anybody from Georgia? Anybody from Georgia got something to say? Because I am wildly fascinated about Georgia and what drove you to the polls. If not, all good too as well.
I'm putting this on because it's funny.
Okay, Cool Lee says, maybe there's a chance for me to run. If that's the case, they would kick me off the ticket for my humor alone. I don't know, Cool. Run. Jay Jones, He sent some texts that were, I'm going on record, inappropriate, should never have been text, was wrong, all the things. He's now the attorney general, right? But also, too, we have a president that has felonies, that has been convicted. He got a second term, right? So that's why I'm like, I'm very shocked that the Democrats voted for Jay Jones and that Jay Jones is still on the ticket, because typically the Democrats take such a high moral authority when it comes to these things. I think we're about to see a whole different types of Democratic candidates coming down the pipeline. People are finally becoming less monolithic and slowly becoming more free thinking on an issue by issue basis. You're spot on, Mike. Yeah, it is. I'm going to find a way to post that again later on today or tomorrow. Everyone stay tuned, because that conversation I did about political fluidity, I think it just holds true. And I think last night was a big part of it. We always teaching here. I forget to go back to some of our previous courses that we taught. I got to start releasing some archives things, right? We need some PhD candidates to study some of our conversations that we had. LM, that's Lisa. I think that's Lisa. What's up, Lisa? We in Georgia are paying attention also to everything. Yes, I think that you guys are. I think that it was bigger. The point I'm trying to make, without trying to feed it to you guys, I was hoping you guys would say it. It was bigger than utilities, right? It was Georgians making a statement. And I think it was Georgia was saying, there's something for us to vote for today. We're getting up and we're voting. I had a caller from Sweden this morning, and she called up and I asked her, why did she do it? She told me, for the ancestors, right? I'm like, the ancestors want cheaper gas and electric bills. All right, shout out to the ancestors. That one, shout out to the ancestors. I don't want to minimize the ancestors, but I thought that was funny. She was like, I voted for cheaper utilities because my ancestors want to be too. Shout out to that. I am here for it. Before I move on to the Supreme Court, any other final thoughts that you guys want to say and ask me about the elections? If not, I'm going to move on, because what ties into it too as well. In New York, we had a very interesting, speaking of propositions, it did get covered a lot. Now, and this is going to be a good segue to Supreme Court. And yeah, there was so much to talk about. Oh, by the way, Dick Cheney died.
Yes.
Right?
Rest in peace.
I'm not laughing because he died. Y'all, there's so much news happening. Like, I don't know. I interviewed Deepak Chopra, is coming soon to the Mike View Show, and we talked about how to handle the amount of incoming that is happening. But for Vice President Dick Cheney that passed away yesterday, I feel like that didn't even get a nod yesterday. But I do just want to, since I landed here, I don't want to move on so quickly from that. What I think is going to be interesting about Dick Cheney's legacy is how transformational he was for the office of vice presidency. He redefined the vice presidency to what it is today. I mean, I even think that the way that he redefined the vice presidency allowed Vice President at the time, President Biden, but at the time, Vice President Biden, to be as an active vice president as he was. And I think that all was because of Vice President Dick Cheney. I think also, too, the influence that Dick Cheney had on President Bush. There's no need to repeat a history lesson on that one. I think we can kind of understand what that is. He was once you remove your emotions, also why I love talking politics, I'm able to remove my emotions. Every now and again, it gets to me, but I think I want to make sure that you guys, as we teach and learn together, now that we're all listening to oral arguments of the Supreme Court, we have to do our best to make sure that we remove our emotions as often as we can, because when you remove your emotions from political discourse, you can actually be more salient in your points. You don't get lost with emotions, and that's how you're able to have people kind of counter you, is because you're so emotional. But also, too, at the same time, you want to be mindful of like your spirit, your mind. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much happening. You don't want to take it on all the time. I had a friend of mine hit me up in the DMs. I congratulated him on something he did, job well done. And he said, Mike, I'm having a hard time celebrating myself with everything that's happening in the world. And I'm like, you shouldn't stop celebrating yourself because so much is happening in the world. You have to know how to separate and remove, know when to tap in, jump in, know when to vote. Clearly, you guys did yesterday. But also, too, know when to take care of yourself. So with that being said, when you remove your emotions of how you feel about Dick Cheney, you will notice that he was a very consequential and a transformational vice president in terms of how he reshaped that office. And I'll leave that there. That's for another conversation for another day. But in speaking of reshaping offices and changing executive authority, we have propositions on the bill, Prop 4, 5, and 6 here in New York City. No one covered it. All good. But it was really about the expansion of mayoral control over the city council when it comes down to real estate. For those of you who may not live in New York City, real estate is big. Obviously, real estate is big everywhere, but real estate development and real estate in New York City is a different dynamic onto itself. It is a different dynamic onto itself. I repeat, it's a different dynamic onto itself. If you think about the NRA is pretty much the most influential lobbying group in the federal government, the National Rifle Association. The real estate coalition in New York City is probably one of the most powerful lobbying groups that we have here in New York City. I would even go say more than Wall Street, maybe, I don't know, but if not more, tied, right? And so on the bill was to loosen control of city council and having so much approval of real estate developments and affordable housing and moving it to mayoral control, which was a big contention here in New York City. But what ended up happening was more power and authority given to mayoral control, which is what the Supreme Court is going to be examining today with this idea of expanding the roles of the executive authority, right? And as the propositions yesterday was taking control away from city council and putting it more into the control of the mayor. That's essentially the dynamic that Supreme Court is looking at right now. Do you take the monetary policies and control that Congress has and the power with the purse and tariffs, and then do you give that away to President Trump? That's why I'm saying with these Republicans, I don't understand why they're still focused on so much cultural issues this morning, when they didn't take notes of what happened last night, and also too what the Supreme Court will be analyzing today, is that if the president, and this isn't just Trump, because if the Supreme Court allows President Trump to be able to declare tariffs at will and with executive discretion, that takes away not the role and function, not just the singular role of Congress, but that is a major function of Congress: appropriations, monetary policies, and tariff control and regulations. That also too sets a precedent for future presidents to come that they can use tariffs and at executive discretion too as well, which creates extreme inconsistencies in economic policies, which is what we started the conversation off this afternoon here in the newsroom of saying why the economy was so front and center. The economy was so much front and center is because if you have these indiscriminate policies of tariffs that are coming at will, if you're a corporation, you don't know how to price, you don't know how to do your supply, you don't know how to hire. And what happens? All those three areas, that impacts the average American, right? And it has a huge impact on the average American. And so as a result, this is why the Supreme Court issue is so big. At its core, President Trump uses Emergency Powers Act, the IEEPA, you may hear that acronym, from 1977 to justify tariffs on nearly half of all U.S. imports, claiming trade deficits constituted a national emergency. There was a coalition of states and activists and nonprofit groups that came together and said, no, you cannot do that. That is not an emergency, and trade deficits does not constitute an emergency. The Supreme Court is deciding, it won't be decided today, but they're hearing arguments for them to make their decision. Whether these tariffs violate what's called the major questions doctrine. You're going to hear that term a lot in the next couple of weeks, the major questions doctrine and the non-delegation doctrine. Both of those limit how much power Congress can hand to the president. Again, think about in simple terms, moving the power of city council to control real estate over to the mayor, right? Like that's basically kind of what it is in simple terms here. The major questions doctrine is the heart of this case. The majors doctrine says that Congress must clearly state when it intends to give the president power over issues of vast economic and political consequences. Okay, I want to repeat that. The major questions doctrine is at the heart of the case. And it says that Congress must clearly state when it intends to give the president power over issues of vast economic and political consequences. President Trump, his defense rests on foreign policy and national security context of trade, arguing that presidents have broader leeway in these areas. Justice Brett Kavanaugh, conservative, I'm going to be clear as I talk about these justices for people who may not be familiar. Conservative Justice Brett Kavanaugh, has already suggested that the doctrine may not apply as rigidly in national security cases. The challengers, though, what they're saying is that the IEEPA never mentions tariffs, customs, or duties, and that declaring a long-term trade imbalance and emergencies is an abuse of authority. The economic reach of this, folks, is huge. Emergency tariffs now affect over $300 billion in goods, from automobiles, cars, steel, electronics, pharmaceuticals, and nearly 90% of imports are governed by Trump era rules in some form. I talked a little bit about what's at stake and like why this matters, but most importantly, a ruling against Trump could rein in presidential power and reaffirm that Congress and not the president controls tax and trade policy. I can't understate that enough. A ruling against Trump would rein in presidential power and reaffirm that Congress, not the president, controls tax and trade policies. This isn't an anti-Trump statement. Like, this is what Congress is intended to do. This is what the framers and founders of this social experiment called American democracy is for. Each office, each co-equal branches of government has different functionalities, right? Part of Congress's functionality is legislative branch is to control tax and trade policy. On the flip side, a ruling in his favor could set a precedent for sweeping executive control over economic decisions, allowing future presidents to reshape trade, supply chains, and even monetary policy under the guise of natural emergencies. So I'm going to pause it there. This is why this case matters today, is because of all the cases that are going to come before the Supreme Court and the cases that have already come previous to today. The expansion of power, the expansion of the executive office, the executive branch, the expansion of the Oval Office is in question. This one right here is the most explicit case. All right, I repeat. Today is the most explicit case of the expansion of presidential powers. If the ruling goes in favor of Trump, the presidents of the United States, not just Trump, but future, will be redefined. If the ruling is against Trump, the role and functionality of the president stays as it is in present form today, before Trump came into office, and the role of the legislative branch stays in control as it's always been before. Make sense? Got it? Cool. Any questions, comments? We have covered a lot today. We have unpacked a lot, and I've been having a ball. I haven't even taken a sip of my espresso. I had it here in my lap. I was turning the dice trying to get it going. But just wanted to pause right here. Let me know if you guys have any questions that you have coming up about anything. My phone is blowing up. Because now I'm going to talk about what's happening in sports and what's happening in football. And before I do that, I got to shout out my World Series champion, the LA Dodgers. I keep talking about how I have these bobbleheads in my house, and it is proof. Kat, do you not see the bobbleheads on my shelf?
I see them, yes.
My Dodgers bobbleheads, Mookie Betts, my man Mookie, and the pitcher Blake Snell. Those are my bobbleheads, bobbing all day when I walk by. I can't think. I know the World Series happened. I feel like the World Series happened like 2 weeks ago. It almost feels dated for me to talk about the World Series, but I wanted to talk my shit just a little bit. I've never, ever remembered a World Series the way that I remember this past World Series. Are y'all feeling me? I haven't got the numbers on the viewership, but it had to be a monster of viewers that tuned into the World Series. I remember moments, Kat, like moments of World Series. I remember Jeter.
You're not a Yankee fan.
Oh, well, shout out to the Yankees. Yeah.
I mean, this was a good one, but we've had some good ones before.
A Yankee has entered the chat. Yeah. But I'm gonna stand my ground. I'm gonna stand on business, as the kids say, and say, I don't remember all 7 games. Like, I can literally let you know what happened in all 7 games because it was wild. Just that we've been talking about NFL is growing, the WNBA is growing. I think baseball is growing. I think after this season, baseball has always been America's pastime, whatever that means. But I think baseball is now going to have a growth. I think you're going to start to see viewership go up. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But I think that is what's going to happen. Jets fans, how are you feeling? I mean, pretty much a dismantling occurred. Just want to know how y'all feel about it. Huh? Sauce Gardner. Huh?
I'm not happy about it. I'm not even a Jets fan.
Kat's not even a Jets fan, and she's upset about Sauce Gardner out of there, right? I don't know. I don't know. I used to be a Jets fan back in the day, right? And I was a Jets fan all the way up until they brought in, oh my God, what's my praying man's name? The quarterback, Tim Tebow. Shout out to all the prayer warriors out there. I know that wasn't a shady comment, but yeah, he always used to pray, right? When they brought Tim Tebow in, I thought that was a gimmick. I was like, you're bringing my man in for a gimmick. I don't like it, and now I can't be a Jets fan anymore. And that's why I'm not all about like individual players. That's why I root for Mookie the way that I do. That's why I'm an Eagles fan. Fly Eagles, fly. Jalen Hurts, what's good? We out here. Twin, the hurt. I mean, the Eagles picked up a dog yesterday, so I'm really excited for them too as well. But let me know some of your thoughts on the trade. Are you guys excited about the Dodgers? How did your team do? Are you happy for your team? Because I want to wind down on a fun note. That was some heavy topics that we just talked about. Shamel, go Dodgers. And y'all see that Nike campaign? That's what made me think about it when Shamel came in to think about that Nike commercial. It was so dope. Maureen, it was right. It was fantastic. Candace said, I was married into being a Jets fan for 15 years. Maybe we need to start a marching band. And go from there. Shout out to all the marching band members. I used to be in the marching band. I agree with you. We need to pay more attention to the bands. Bang Bang Niner Gang 6-3 with IR full. All right, A James. Bang Bang Niner Gang. I like that. You need to intro the MuseRoom every time you come in the chat with that one. Marine, go Lions. I know. Although I'm from Michigan, as everyone knows, I don't root for the Lions, but I don't root against the Lions. But I'm always excited when the Lions have a good time and a good day. Folks, how much fun. My voice is starting to fade a little bit. So I've been yelling and there's been so much excitement, right? I've been talking to you guys all morning. I was late in the morning and out here at the Mike Muse Show. I just love y'all so much. I just love talking clearly. I don't mind stretching my voice before you guys. You guys have been an amazing audience today. The engagement was crazy, y'all. I keep telling y'all, like, we're just getting started. I'm getting the email. We're just getting started, and we're about to go bigger and bigger and bigger. We have it all worked out now. We got the kinks worked out. We got the technology worked out. We figured out how to get Instagram going on. By the way, y'all, we're doing this through StreamYard. So if Instagram, you guys are doing comments. We're doing our best to put your comments into it. So we're still trying to work out some things as well. So we haven't even gone full Monty with this yet. So we're still having fun, still rocking with y'all. Thank y'all for being the core. I repeat, thank y'all being the core audience in the MuseRoom. There will be a special email that I'm going to create for you guys next week, and I want this group right here as November 5th. Everyone who's been rocking with me all the way up before November the 5th, who come and join me every Wednesday, I'm gonna give you guys an email, and I want you guys to shoot a note to that email. I want to lock you guys in. I'm gonna have you guys be part of like my special. I don't know what to call it. For right now, it's a special group or special focus. I don't know. We'll say group. Entity. We'll call it entity for right now. I want to make sure we send you guys stuff, love on you guys. We got some really cool ideas to send you guys. The muses. Yeah, whatever you guys think up to as well. But once we get everything going, we about to launch and go full scale because you guys like it. People come up to me and talk about the MuseRoom, and I'm like, yo, that's amazing. We haven't even done a real promo. So I love y'all so much, man. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. I love what I do. I love teaching. So it's fun. I have an amazing team. Thank you, Kat. Thank you for doing this. I can't wait for us to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. All right, y'all. And basically the Muse movement is the same thing as last week. Help out your food pantry, your local food kitchens, in any way. Again, we didn't even talk about snack. I mean, there's just so much, y'all. There's just so much. So, and we're still in the shutdown. Jesus Christ. That's it. We can't go on. We can't do the more. We gotta stop. Bye. All right, I'm into the stream now, y'all. Love y'all. Peace. All right, and then the stream.